And we're ready.
Okay, great. Well, I am ready to call the July 21st meeting of the Oregon Appraiser Certification and Licensure Board meeting to order. It is now 9:06. Stephanie, would you take a roll call to confirm a quorum?
Yes. Lori?
Here.
Owen?
Here.
Annie?
Here.
Ed?
Here.
Kathy?
Here.
Gary?
Here.
And Aaron.
Aaron, you are on mute.
Here, sorry about that.
That's all right. It
Perfect.
happens all the time. Thumbs up works for us around here too, so.
And staff in attendance today, we have Administrator Chad Cook, Fiscal Analyst Paul Lindsay, Compliance Investigator Dan Murphy, and Administrative Specialist Stephanie Kahn.
Very good. Thanks, Steph. Looks like our next item is any public input. I'm not seeing anybody besides Barry here. Barry, did you have any public input for the board?
Just to mention that I'm here representing the Foundation's State Harmonization Task Force. I'm here as a resource for you. And Chad, Chad has my contact info. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, anywhere along the line, feel free to reach out and ask me questions.
Thank you very much. I don't know how we got so lucky to get you, but we are truly fortunate. Thanks so much. Any other members of the public? Doesn't look like it, so we will move on to action items. The first one is I'd like to introduce our newest board member, Aaron Still. And Aaron, thank you so much for joining us and for serving with us. Do you want to just give a brief introduction?
Sure. My name's Aaron Still. I started my career in Oregon as a trainee, then I moved to Arizona. I've been through every licensing stage. I got a license. Well, I got a trainee's license in Oregon, and then a license in Arizona, certified residential in Arizona, and then a general certified in Arizona. And then I moved back to Oregon back in 2009, and I've been in Baker City since then. Primarily commercial, agricultural, and right-of-way work. I do residential, although it's been less and less over the years. Excited for the opportunity to contribute if I can. A lot of interesting things going on in our profession, and I'm here to learn as much and hopefully be able to contribute. So.
Very good. Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you. Okay, moving on. I would entertain a motion to adopt the April 21st board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to adopt the April 21st board meeting minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Oh, I think that we have
I raised hands too.
we have a second and a third because that's how we do it around here.
Okay, Lori?
Oh, hold on just a second. Just let's see if there's any discussion on this. Hearing none?
Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
Lori?
Yeah, yes.
Annie?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Owen?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And Aaron.
I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
Very good. Okay, motion passes. All right. So, Chad, I should have called you on this one first. The new immigration data policy, do we need to adopt these individually or can we do it in one fell swoop?
You can adopt those as proposed, just you maybe just cite them 1301, 13002. But yeah, they're one group of policies essentially that are written and adopted at the same time on the same subject. So yeah, you can just adopt them.
Okay.
Just identify those numbers and the glossary just for a clear record. But beyond that, yeah, that should be fine.
Okay.
And
so
I'm happy to provide any clarity too if you guys want.
Yeah, so maybe we can wait till discussion on that for just a moment. And do we have a motion?
Can I make a motion to adopt the new immigration procedure policies?
13-001.
13-001. Thank you.
13-002.
7/1/2026.
And yeah.
Oh, we need all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the record.
And 1300-002 and 13-003 and 13-004.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this topic?
I have a couple of questions just for clarity for my own head as I was reading through these things. On 13002, I just wanted to confirm that the third bullet point on page 2 of 3, where it says the information being shared with the person concerns only that person or their dependents. So if somebody comes into the office and says, I'd like to see what you have on file for me, we can give it to them, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it's just for them or their dependents, right?
Right.
All right, so
And
that's-
we would, ideally, I think we would probably document that with a record request, even if it's their information, just so that there's a trail. But yes,
Okay.
yeah. And beyond that, it's not public information. Well, as far as there would be certain things required for any of that to be disclosed. And the only place it could be disclosed, other than the person whose information it is, would be the federal authority.
under the subpoena
Right.
ordinance, right?
Right.
Okay, so anybody that comes in requesting information under the federal immigration law, that's not, we don't provide that information unless they have the subpoena, correct?
Right. Correct.
Okay. Then the other question I had on 13004, under the policy statement, says absent a judicial order or emergency, what would constitute an emergency?
Let's see here. So can you give me a board packet page? The blue number down at the bottom there, is it 14?
Let's see here. I'm actually on the document themselves.
I think it's 13-004.
Yeah,
Yeah,
13-004. It would be on page 1 of 2 under the policy
it.
statement. It says
Okay.
absent a judicial order or emergency.
Mhm.
What would constitute an emergency?
I don't have an immediate answer to that question. That would probably be run up the chain to council.
Okay, because that term right there, or emergency, seems kind of this ambiguous, open-ended. Somebody could come in and say, this is an emergency, I need this information. Well, based on the document, if somebody states it's an emergency, right? It's an emergency. So what's the definition of an emergency, right?
There are for sure criteria to that. I don't have those on me right now, but I would imagine that relates more to like national emergency kind of.
I am not an attorney, but I had read that to be a declaration of emergency by a governmental authority somewhere.
Right.
But thank you, Kathy, for pointing that out, because it does not specifically say that in the text here.
And even in the definition page, there's no definition of emergency as far as what really defines,
In the glossary, yeah.
right, yeah, the piece of that. So those were the questions that I had. I mean, just understanding those pieces of it.
Right.
So, is there enough question there that we should be going back to the governor's office for clarification prior to adopting this? Or that's the question, is everybody comfortable voting on this without that clarification and getting the clarification afterward?
I'm okay getting the clarification afterward, as long as that definition of emergency is not so ambiguous that it causes an issue down the road.
Secondarily, if you wanted to vote on adoption today, I can circle back to get that information. I'll probably run it through the Department of Justice, because a lot of this is model policy that is minimally, like there are minimum content requirements based on governor's orders and things like that. But we can always, as a board, go into that glossary and add a term based on the definition given to me.
Oh, that's a good point.
Okay.
Right.
Can we amend the policy on the fly, Chad?
You could amend it at another board meeting, and it doesn't even have to be the October one. Yeah,
Okay.
That's a great solution.
Okay.
you could call a special meet if it's of that much importance. We can call a special, or you all can call a special meeting within
So-
3 weeks. I mean, we got to give the right amount of notice and things, but beyond that, you can schedule an impromptu meeting before the October.
Right, so Chad, how much pushback are you gonna get if the board does not adopt this policy today?
Unknown. It might be significant. Yeah, that really is an unknown for me. It was pretty clearly made evident that this is a need, not a request, I guess is the
You're
way
not asking.
we could put it.
Yeah,
So with that answer, Chad, it sounds like we're being told to adopt this policy, even though we're a board that's supposed to vote on these policies?
I've been informed to encourage all of you that this is important. But you all still retain the decision-making authority. You can vote no. That's part of the deal. So no, this doesn't strip any of your authority away. This is just something that was strongly encouraged from the Department of Justice and the governor's office last summer, I believe it was. Late last summer.
So we're a year past, almost a year past, probably when they requested us to do this.
Getting closer to about that. And it was honestly, folks, that was one of those things that I understand the need for the policy. But we had so many other things going on with all of the other adoptions and changes and Perea and just the other moving parts of the board that, quite frankly, this was my oversight, not
It's
putting
not-
this before
it's
you
not
guys
oversight.
last October.
It's my understanding is that it's important for us as a board to codify into our rules the rules that are uniform to the rest of the state's boards and agencies. I really like, Kathy, that was a great catch. Thank you for that. I like the idea that we can amend this with a definition so that it's clear to staff what constitutes an emergency and they don't have to try to make that decision. If they're, heaven forbid, they're faced with a circumstance where they need to be able to identify. Is it possible, since I made this motion, and this is somebody who's keener with Robert's rules than can I amend, or can we withdraw? Can I withdraw that motion and amend it to say, to adopt 13001, 13002, 13003, and 13004 with the understanding that we will later call an additional, or discuss an additional board meeting, the definition of what constitutes an emergency to satisfy 13004
and
amend the policy at that time?
That seems reasonable. Yeah.
Is that way too long?
no, I think that's.
No, specificity is good. No, that's absolutely fine, Owen. You can withdraw again. And again, I'm not your board chair, but procedurally that is absolutely fine.
Yes, so I think we have withdrawn a motion. We have a new motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So second with Annie. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Hearing none. Steph?
Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Ed,
No.
Kathy,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Motion passes. And we understand your position, Ed, and appreciate it.
For anybody reading the transcript, I'm nodding in agreement.
Right.
Me too.
In my position, I shared directly with Chad, if there's not a business case for a policy, there shouldn't be a policy. Personal opinion.
Totally valid.
And do not disagree. Okay, moving on to our next action item. We've got some rulemaking that we need to do that we may need to very quickly redo all over again. But as of right now, what we'd like to do is align our qualifying education hours, excuse me, with the AQB criteria. And we have a suggested motion here. Would anybody like to make that motion?
I will make the motion that we approve the filing a permanent administrative order to amend Oregon Administrative Rules, OAR, Chapter 161, divisions 010, I'm sorry, division 010 and 020 as proposed to align the board's qualifying education requirements with the 2026 AQB criteria.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. Any discussion on this one?
I just had another clarification. Aaron, you'll soon learn I'm kind of the question person, right? So this is under the certified general requirements. And I didn't actually, was reading this late last night. I didn't pull up the AQB requirements, but under the appraisal subject matter electives, we've reduced that from 30 hours down to 22 hours in not less than 15-hour increments, which that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And maybe that's what AQB is saying as well, right? Because if not less than 15-hour increments, they have to take at least 2 classes anyways to meet that criteria. So does anybody
Or a
know?
course specifically designed for that specific criteria. It's essentially a math problem, right? Because
is
the
a math
qualifying, the qualifying education hours aren't changing for certified general or certified residential, but we've got the addition of an 8-hour course. So they had to put those hours somewhere. And so it's
right.
essentially taking out of the electives, which are likely to not be a thing at some point here in the near future, as we can talk about later in the board meeting. But it's essentially just so that the qualifying education hours don't change, but there's also that requirement for the 8-hour for new licensee applicants, right?
Okay.
That 8-hour valuation.
And just a point on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. This has already gone through the rulemaking process.
Yes.
And testimony, so I think the time has passed.
In fact, just for the record, really quickly, there was, if I'm not mistaken, there was no public testimony, written testimony or otherwise on the proposal.
Okay. So Barry, is that what you were going to say as well? That it's just part of the removal of that 8 hours?
Yes.
Okay. And like you said, Chad, it was really just a math problem in my head that didn't compute. And so that's where that came. I was like,
because qualifying education has to be 15 hours. With the exception of the 8-hour course. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Which throws off that 12-hour piece. And one of the upgrade paths, I think there's a 10-hour piece that don't fit that 15 that hopefully the AQB will address that.
Okay.
I believe it will be addressed shortly. So, okay. So any more discussion on this topic? Okay, hearing none, Steph, I think we're ready for a vote.
Lori?
Yes.
Annie?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Owen?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to new business. And Chad, thank you so much for your keen eye on all of these things. We have some proposed rulemaking. And this is regarding the late renewal criteria that we discussed at our last meeting, and we'd asked Chad to propose some language that we can put out there for public hearing. So we have a suggested motion. Would somebody like me to read it, or would somebody else like to make that motion?
I read the last one, guys. Come on.
Okay, I'll do this one. This is proposed rulemaking. I move that we approve a notice of rulemaking to amend Oregon Administrative Rules OAR Chapter 161 Divisions 010, 015, and 020 to modify application and examination requirements and late renewal criteria.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Very good. Any discussion on this one, or have we discussed this one to death?
Can I just get caught up real quick?
You bet, Aaron.
Please.
So this just moves it to reinstate from 6 months to 12 months.
Lori, you want me to field
Yeah,
that
if
one?
you want to take that one, Chad,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
so essentially what Oregon's criteria for renewals of licenses for a long time has been, there's a limitation on how late you can renew your license after it expires. We've limited that period to 12 months for as long as I've been an appraiser. We allow renewal of a license up to 6 months early, just as an internal policy. But as far as our criteria for when you can renew a license or after it's expired, limiting that 12-month period, that, you know, a lot can happen in 12 months. People can retire and jump out and then decide they want to back, you know, get back in. Well, given the current climate of the appraiser population and the trends that we're seeing, in order to retain appraisers and potentially maybe recapture some folks that left the business a few years ago but are really good at the thing and want to come back, that's not a possibility. If it's 12 months in one day, you're out of luck. You're reapplying as a brand new applicant for a brand new license with a brand new audit and a brand new test. What these rules essentially do is it extends first thing it does is our cutoff for application submissions, because historically we've been an in-office culture, and these rules were written, I think maybe even before internet was a real big thing, email and stuff. So our criteria, our cutoff used to be 5 p.m. because that's the end of the workday. Well, that's not the end of the day. So I proposed modifying that to say 11:59 to give that extra. Again, a lot of this is just about giving that extra little forgiveness in the process. So that's one of the changes here. The other one is that we're extending the late renewal period from 1 year, 12 months to 5 years. So 5 years after, within 5 years after expiration, you can renew late. The other thing in terms of the rules here was you were talking about the application validity period. Historically, we've said that applications are only valid for 6 months. That's come up a couple of times with the ASC that's not necessarily a requirement on their end, on as far as the AQB goes. So I felt rather than just opening the barn door, okay, let's again, in that spirit of let's give a little bit more flexibility, but still have some criteria and guardrails in place, rather than telling people they have to reapply after 6 months. We'll allow that 12-month time period for the application to be valid, just if there's hiccups along the way and audits and things like that for the folks that are trying to apply. Secondarily, this extends the approval for the testing period. So after we do an audit on an application, you're approved to take your exam. Well, historically, we've only allowed, again, 6 months for that exam to take place, 6 months or 3 attempts, whichever comes first. And this just extends that from 6 to a nice round 12, you know, in case somebody wants to take an exam refresher course or something from one of the providers, you know, again, a little bit more leniency and flexibility within the licensing process to see if we can capture some more numbers.
Right. So Aaron, this is all in the spirit of not only removing any unnecessary barriers to entry, but to retaining as many of our licensees as we possibly can.
Yep, I got you. That sounds reasonable to me.
Excellent. So any further discussion on this one? Okay, hearing none, I think we're ready for a vote, staff.
Okay. Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we're moving into old business. I think it's that old.
It's all relative, right? My kids disagree.
So, Paul, could you give us the budget report?
The budget numbers are concerning to me due to the fact, if you'll see, the licensing numbers are dropping still. Our income keeps getting smaller. I did a quick snapshot of January to June of last year to this year, and we're already down almost 30,000. Again, it depends how many appraisers renew early. We could be making it up somewhat. We could be making it with the fee increases. So in October, I'll do another written report to show you guys where we're at that point in time. My bottom line is all we got to do is keep trying to find a way to save money.
Yeah.
our expenses. I don't know how much more we can cut besides.
At some point,
Facility,
you cut
yeah.
everything that you've.
We're gonna have to keep a very close eye on it, of what we're doing. We're trying to do everything we can to cut little corners in the office, but there's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
We just need more appraisers. We need more.
We need more appraisers.
Can I ask a question in here?
Yes.
Am I cutting you off?
Nope.
Now, Chad has done a commendable job of swinging an axe around the budget and catching all of the big ticket items. And so now we're kind of into the cutting with a scalpel phase of this. And again, we've talked about this in past board meetings. A budget has two levers, it's revenue and expenses. And if we can't control the revenue any more than we've already allowed for, we need to continue looking at expenses. And I can't help but wonder, it's not, none of them are big anymore. And today's not a great example because he's not, Raul is not sitting here, but we pay, I think, the hourly rate to have an attorney sit on these meetings. If we don't have legal business, Chad, is that actually a requirement? Is that a state requirement in any way, or can we ask him to just stay home and not charge us that hourly rate?
Well, case in point, he's not here today. I think it's probably reasonable if we're looking at cutting expenses. I think that's probably allowed. I think it's not necessarily advisable if we've got contentious issues going on. I don't see any of that happening right now. But no, I think that's a reasonable place to start the conversation. And, I can always circle back with Raul, and of course, I'm going to get his opinion, and it's going to be that he should be here. But in terms of functionally, how much danger are we in? I think if there's not a real contentious or involved issue, we can probably, avoid 3 out of 4 meetings having that expense.
And I also, the separate topic, and anybody, of course, is welcome to interject as I roll through here. But this is I'd had a conversation with Chad, I think just last week, about the office space. We've already downsized here, but my understanding, and I don't know if this is something that I could just ask Chad offline or whether I need to officially ask. My understanding is that DAS maintains a sort of a flex office environment, and to my 2 cents, the feeling of staff around where we office is more important than the rest of us because we're not here, and they're here all day. But I'm also aware in this office environment that being in a kind of an empty space isn't all that compelling to a lot of people. It might be that you would be happier in a place that was a little bit more dynamic. So can I ask whether is it appropriate for me to ask Chad to have a conversation with staff about as to whether we might shift to the DAS shared offices, or whether the staff would prefer that, and maybe come back at a future board meeting and let us know how those conversations went?
100%. In fact, you've got opportune timing, Owen, because I have a meeting scheduled in a couple of weeks with the folks over at DAS Enterprise Asset Management to talk about exactly this. So at this point, it's just going to be getting options. What is it? Is there a cost differential? Is it a big one? And then circling back to, again, like you said, I'll talk with staff and get everybody's impressions. But, we do have a good bit of space there, and there's 4 people in the room, and there's a whole bunch of more office with nobody in it most of the time. So my first attempt at facility savings was, let's maintain the public location, or let's maintain the physical location so that we are open for walk-ins to the public. But since I made that decision in the last even 12 months, there are a huge number of boards that are and smaller agencies that are taking advantage of the buildings and space that's commonly owned by the Department of Administrative Services. So there's a couple of buildings that they've got space in, and they've got co-working locations that are, some of them are like cubicle kind of, environments. There are some private offices, and I know that there are boardrooms or meeting rooms, much like the one that you guys are sitting in right now. So there is an opportunity there for a conversation to see if there's a significant savings. The other question is going to be, are those savings enough to offset the lease that we would need to break there that we just signed
Was my question.
last year? We are now in a 10-year lease, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And there could be a bit of time before we realize the actual savings because of the chunk out of the front end. So,
Right, and
but yes,
also
and it's absolutely inappropriate, but the budget is the perfect time to talk about that. And yes, I'm kind of already have the ball rolling.
that's great. And also just the matter of convenience. I mean, how often do you actually have to interview in person? During an investigation or whatnot.
Luckily, we have our investigator in the meeting. But I'll go ahead and
Dan?
speak for him if he doesn't want to pipe up. I don't know that we've done an in-person interview of an appraiser since COVID.
Okay. Okay, very good. Well, if then maybe what we can do is, we don't need a motion on this or anything, but if you guys can get together and at our next meeting, maybe we'll have a better idea of, now we've delegated all of this authority to Chad to make these decisions about facilities and whatnot. So the board doesn't need to vote on any of this, but thank you for the points that you've brought up. This is a time to be thinking outside the box. So, I know that every effort has been made to cut every possible expense. Chad, question. Are we getting to a place where we're assuming that, grants are still available to us with the new federal legislation that just passed that could impact the fees collected by appraisal management companies, which are funding the ASC grants, as I understand it. But assuming that there are still grants available, are we at a place where we might be able to shift some of those dollars that are currently being spent to get us caught up from our backlog of older cases?
It would have to be a very specific use within the scope of the existing grant. I'm not a grant expert, but I'm pretty sure that what's written within our proposal, that's what got us the money. It's got to fit within that described scope of the project. However, we are now, in fact, this will be a part of my update for you folks later. We're going into the 3rd year of the grant that we were awarded. And it's highly possible, and I would say likely, that there will be another announcement for available funds, a notice of funding availability at some point here in the next maybe 2 years. So there might be, it may time out very well that this grant that we're working on closes out and we can apply for another one. We can probably have 2 open at the same time, but it would be cleaner, I'm sure, across the board if we just have one running at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks for being honest with us on that one.
Yes.
So does that conclude your report?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So licensing and AMC report, Chad.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it's time for the not great news. Although some of these numbers are actually higher. So these numbers are developed as of June 30th, 2026, the end of the last quarter. As of June 30th, we had 612 active certified general appraisers. That number is up by 1 from this time last year. We have a total of 538 active certified residential appraisers, and we've lost about 45, almost 50 of those folks. State licensed appraisers, we now have 108 that are active as of June 30th, and that number again is down. So both the certified residential and state licensed numbers are trending downward, and that's been a pretty consistent trend. And honestly, the certified general populations have been stable to slightly growing here and there, which is encouraging. Pardon me. So the total number of active appraisers right now in Oregon is 1,258. For inactive appraisers, as of June 30th, we have 19 certified general inactive appraisers. We have 28 inactive certified residential appraisers and 11 inactive state licensed appraisers. And again, the number of inactive appraisers is trending downward pretty much at the same pace that we've seen from the overall licensing numbers. Appraiser assistants registered as of June 30th. We have 49 that are at some point in their licensing journey, whether it's, gathering experience or getting education and experience. That number is down by about 13 from this time last year. We had 62. So it's a noticeable change. Registered AMCs. It looks like we picked up another one since this time last year. We now have 97 registered AMCs that are doing business in the state. And again, we had 96 at this time last year. As far as covered transactions goes, now that all the numbers are in, there were 43,017 covered transactions completed by AMCs and appraisers in Oregon in the reporting year. Are there any questions related to the licensing report?
Yeah, go ahead.
Chad, on the very last line, the covered transactions figure, is that for 2026? Is that an annualized figure for mid-year, or is that so far to date?
It's for the reporting period, which ends March 31st. Yeah, so these are 2025 numbers for the 2026 registry reporting.
So, and to clarify that the number of covered transactions are the number of transactions that have gone through appraisal management companies,
Correct.
not necessarily.
Because
all
that's the number that's,
transactions,
right. It's
Precisely.
just for AMC covered transactions on primary residences. Yeah.
I have a question. Chad, do you feel like, now that we've enacted PREA, that, are we going to see a delayed response of maybe those certified residential numbers going up, or do you think the effect is already the effect at this point?
I think it's that was not a magic bullet. That's not the one fix to the problem.
Yeah, I know.
And I think we're going to notice a change, but I think it's going to be incremental and very gradual by, say, maybe a couple applicants a year, something like that.
Okay.
Because it's not free, and unless you've got a Pathways to Success grant, that can be a difficult chunk to come up with all at once. The advantage, I would say, well, one of the advantages to the supervisor model is that classwork can be done. 79 hours of it, including the supervisor trainee course, has to be done on the front end, of course, but you can spread the rest of that expense out over 1 to whatever, your training period can. And it's not the most efficient or ideal way to learn that stuff because you're not testing right when you finish the courses, right? You're testing after you finish your experience. But I think PREA is going to have an impact. I think if there were a pathway for a practicum program, the more opportunities we can give people to get into the business, the more we're going to see those numbers change. Dan, as a former educator, always tells me people learn, just not in the same way and not on the same day. Is that a pretty fair summation, Dan? Yeah. So giving the supervisor pathway that we've always had, in addition to the more case-related academic pathway of PREA, and maybe down the line considering if it would be a board expense to run this, but a practicum program that's kind of a blend of the two, the more of those things that we can give folks, the more we're going to see these numbers improve.
If I might add something as well, the last time that I ran these numbers, I was shocked by the percentage of out-of-state licensees we actually have. So my suspicion is that a lot of this drop has to do with folks that are out of state that are just not renewing in the state of Oregon. I don't know that we're necessarily losing a ton of Oregon appraisers. Obviously, once we license them, there are appraisers, but, in-state appraisers. So, maybe that's something that we need to concentrate on is, what can we do to help those non-residents, encourage them to do business here in Oregon, because they already have licenses. Super easy for them to get an Oregon license through reciprocity. So, because our board staff is really good at that, right? So anyway, just wanted to point it out. It's not necessarily that, we've got a bunch of Oregon appraisers that are retiring or quitting or anything like that, but we may have it might not be that hard to find out that number, would it, Chad?
Of reciprocal licensees? Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we can find out, add that to our data, the percentage of, I mean, it was
For the
something
next
crazy,
report,
like
sure.
50% of our licensees are out of state residents. That might be a little high, but it was crazy. So, yeah, just a
Can I ask a quick question before we move on?
Of course.
Have we had anybody reach out asking about a practicum program?
On the side of the public, no. No, there was some contact. I actually reached out to Melissa Bond when the board was also considering Perea about a year ago. And the conversation kind of went a few different directions at that point, but at the moment, just given the expense of potentially developing a practicum program, because that would be internal to Oregon, and the ins and outs of running it, that expense possibly could have been in the six figures.
I asked because I teach for Melissa's practicum program.
Oh, okay.
And she has reached out to me about possibly setting one up here, using their practicum program, but as a and I would run it here in the state of Oregon.
As a model to develop one and shift it for Oregon. Okay.
Yeah, so basically we would take hers and just model it. I mean, it would be, I know others that have done it in their states, kind of franchising it basically, franchising for a practicum program
to
the state of Oregon.
I could be wrong, but I think maybe this topic should be, maybe you guys can have that conversation.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We can
I just
add that as an agenda item for the next meeting, but this is good instruction as far as to come back to you with some more info. But yes, that I can add that to an agenda for, in fact, you folks could schedule another meeting before, again, like I said, the October meeting. If you feel like this is a thing that needs urgent attention, we could schedule another meeting in 2-3 weeks if you want.
Well, I think maybe a discussion with knowledgeable people needs to occur prior to bringing it to the board. What it's going to cost, what, all of that, rather than hashing it out during a board meeting.
Sure.
Can I add something here? Just a thought.
Sure.
A friend of mine who called me when he was coming home from college had taken a course at Oregon State that Ashley and Stacy, and I can't remember their last names, but at the time they were working with Northwest or Ag West, and they actually taught a class at Oregon State where it was somewhat of a practicum, and it got a lot of the agricultural students interested in the appraisal field, and it was used more as a recruiting thing for Ag West, which used to be Northwest Farm Credit. And it felt like to me he ended up becoming an agricultural broker instead after weighing out compensation packages and where the economy was. But it really gained a lot of interest in the profession by having that there. And if there were a partnership where people could get an introduction to the appraisal field in the college setting, it might help us out a little bit in this overall endeavor of growing the profession. Anyway, it might be worth reaching out to Stacy and Ashley, and I can get their last names if interested.
Excellent.
I think that's a great idea. I wonder if we should create an ad hoc committee on this topic. So was, Chad, did you have anything else to add on the enforcement report?
Oh, well,
Oh, I'm sorry,
on the
excuse me,
enforcement.
the licensing and AMC report.
That's all I have for you related to licensing right now.
Okay, if there's no more questions, then how about if we move on to the enforcement report?
All right. So here is some of the better news that I've been happy to give you folks over the last few meetings. So the number of closed cases, and again, these numbers are developed as of June 30th, the end of the quarter. The cases closed last quarter, so that would be April 1st through June 30th. We closed 8 cases. And I have some additional information that I'll give you later on in terms of the compliance and enforcement support program. But there will very likely be another group of cases being closed administratively and with other methods here after the board meeting. There could be a number of cases that are taken off of our inventory, so to speak. So the open case inventory as of the end of the biennium was 46 total cases. And if you remember last meeting, it was, I believe that number has jumped down by about 25% per meeting over the last 2 or 3 meetings. So we are getting relatively caught up. There was a bit of an influx on new cases just for a variety of reasons. So that number was actually, I think, 42 at the last meeting, and now it's 46, even though we've closed 8 cases, just because of the revolving door of the way things work. But of the 46 open cases, 6 of those are new that have come in within the last few weeks. And are being vetted or at some stage of the first examination process. 32 of our active open cases are pending investigation or assignment to an investigator to complete. We have 2 investigations in process as of June 30th, and actually that's more like 4 right now. We have 1 of our cases that has gone through the vetting process. We've received it. Been through the vetting process, and we've notified the appraiser that there's an open case, but we're waiting for them to respond. Appraisers, we give them a 30-day window to provide a written response and some of the other documentation. That's where that one is. And then 5 of our cases that are open are before you folks today for approval in one manner or another. Of our total open cases of 46, 28 of them are over a year old, and this is as of June 30th. And again, there will be a good little number of those 28 that probably come off of that ledger within the next couple of weeks because of administrative actions and closing cases and things like that after review. So of the 28 that are currently open that are over a year old, 22 are still pending investigation or assignment to an investigator. Our 2 cases that show as being in progress right now are over a year old. So the 2 cases that our investigators working on are over that 12-month mark. And 4 of the 5 cases that you guys are looking at today are over a year old to be addressed by the board today. Are there any questions on the enforcement?
No, great work, Dan and Chad.
No, this is primarily Dan, and thank you to our EOC members.
Okay, if there are no other questions on enforcement for Chad, how about if we move on to approval of board orders? So Chad, help me with the language here. It looks like I'm looking for a motion to approve the dismissed with counsel.
Yeah, I would start by identifying the case number
Recommendation.
there. Yeah, I would start by identifying the case number and then just say that the
Yeah.
action taken is to dismiss with counsel. Do I have a motion to approve? Something along those lines.
Right. So, okay, so do I have a motion to approve case number 21-2499 with the action taken dismissed with counsel? Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, staff?
Lori,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Aaron. You're
Aaron,
muted, Aaron. What was that?
How about a thumbs up?
You're muted.
There we go. We'll go on the record that we got a thumbs up from you.
Yes, sorry about that.
Very good, motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve case number 26-2657 dismissed with counsel action?
So
I'll
moved.
motion that.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Excellent. Any discussion? Okay, Steph?
Lori,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Yeah.
Gary,
Yes.
and Aaron.
Yes.
Excellent. Motion passes. Okay, so do I have a motion for the corrective action agreement on case number 21-2500 with education?
So moved.
Got a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Steph?
Lori,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
yes,
Aaron.
Yes.
Carries. Do I have a motion to approve correction action agreement on case number 22-2515 with education?
I'll make
So
that
moved.
motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, Steph?
Lori,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
yes,
Aaron.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the corrective action agreement on case number 25-2645?
motion that,
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Steph?
Lori,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Gary,
yes,
Aaron.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion passes. Moving on to our administrator's report. Chad, do you want to take it away?
Yes, ma'am. I will try to keep this brief. So I wanted to update you folks on the progress of our compliance and enforcement support program that's funded by the appraisal subcommittee's grant. As of right now, I've developed some numbers just starting in January to now. So within the first 6 months of the year, we've assigned out 21 between the aged cases. The consultants at Wallet have looked at 8 of our older cases. We are kind of coming to the end of their analysis of those things and shifting their efforts more onto the new cases and assisting Dan with front end research on some of that other stuff, and then licensing audits. I hope that most of you have noticed it's a little quieter in terms of me asking you folks to do audits these days. And that's because I'm taking advantage of our consultants for a lot of that stuff, and then reviewing their work and, deciding on the recommendation myself. But as of right now, the folks have assisted us with 8 aged cases between January and now. 13 of our new cases they have been examining. A few of those are still outstanding and should probably actually be coming in shortly after our board meeting within the next week or so. This goes back to some of the enforcement report that I was talking about. Of the new cases that are being vetted, there are a number that came back, and there are recommendations to address it non-disciplinarily. So, there are circumstances within the case that allow us not necessarily to need a board order on addressing the issue, if there even is one. And so I believe there are between 4 and 6 additional cases that, as a result of our compliance consultants' work, I'll be able to close outside of this meeting. So that number of closed cases for the quarter, instead of 8, is, well, I guess we're after the quarter here, but we're going to be reducing our overall caseload yet again within a week or so after the meeting. The consultants have, as of right now, done 6 audits for us since January. 3 of those were for new licensees and 3 were for supervisors. Let's see, it looks like 2 of the 3 licensees were approved to take their exam and move forward. And all 3 of the applicants to be supervisors are now supervisors. So, and I'm getting very detailed reports from these folks in terms of what they're seeing, and positives and negatives. Let's see here. As far as the overall work, since January, we have used about 33,000, not quite 34,000, in grant funds to fund those compliance consultants and what they're doing for the board. We've also, since January, and this will play into the other part of my administrator's report, we've also taken care of the cost for developing the board's new licensing portal and disciplinary, that basically a place to submit disciplinary complaints, a place to do online renewals and applications and things. And it's just going to be a much easier way to house licensing data and give licensees access to their own data than we do currently have. It's similar to Washington's online renewal process, but not the same. But in any event, a good chunk has been spent, the grant money on that, and that is actually nearing completion. So as far as the consulting work goes, they are still continuing to assist us on any aged cases as needed. But like I said, we're kind of coming to the end of their involvement with that stuff. And it's now just up to us to work through those older cases and get those compliance reports written for you folks, or move the cases down the road in one way or the other. They will probably be in the future. I'm going to rely more on them to do, like I said, audits and vet new allegation reports, just to save Dan that front end time and all of you the need to potentially do audits. I may still need to reach out, here and there.
We don't mind, Chad. Anything we can do to get those
Well,
cases
anything I can do
done.
to keep you folks happy and wanting to be involved with the board. That's kind of my goal here too. So, but no, we're doing wonderful with the compliance consultants. They're incredibly responsive, and they're getting the work product back in what I would consider as an acceptable time frame, given the complexity of some of the stuff that they're having to look at. As far as the future of the compliance and enforcement support program that's funded by this appraisal subcommittee grant, this is the other part of the update. Is I am currently, well, actually, I've submitted for the next year's funding, and there's always a question and answer kind of a process with a grant submission, just so that they can nail down the things that we're saying we're going to do and what we've done and where are we going, all of those things. I actually just responded to the grant folks over at the ASC yesterday, and I believe I've answered all their questions. So now it just comes down to the funding announcement. I'm pretty confident that we'll probably get this last year's funding for this program too. So that the application has been submitted, and it's essentially just a matter of waiting out the deadline for their announcement. And I should be able to report to you good news as of the October meeting that we've been funded for another year. As far as future grants, that would be a topic for another meeting. But as far as our ability to apply for future grants, like I was saying earlier, we can, if we identify another need for the board, the subcommittee grant will fund a number of different things. They'll fund travel to regulatory conferences and things like that. As long as it fits within improving the functionality of the agency and its mission and our compliance with policy statements, we can apply for additional grants for different things. And I'll be happy to let you know when another announcement comes out for if there's funds available in the future. As far as our licensing portal update on where we're at there, we are really kind of narrowed down to the final testing and tweaking at this point. I think Ed has been working a lot with Camille, our licensing specialist, mostly on just fine tuning the last little bits and making sure all of these plugins play nicely together to give the applicant on the receiving end a smooth experience that's not confusing, and what's being asked of you and how to give it to the board. So finalizing some of that stuff. And I think at the last meeting, our developer had projected July 1st. And we were a little skeptical at that point too. And rightly so. We're here at the 21st now, and we're just now finalizing. So I hesitate to give a go live date, but I know that we are going to test it through an actual application process before it's live and available to everybody on the internet. At least one, if not several, application processes. And that's kind of where we're at now.
We've been working on it and we haven't,
We should be doing a trial with one of our board members by next week.
Okay. And I think as far as I think one of the hangups is the payment plugin, making sure that that's working securely in the right way. No, Paul's shaking his head no.
No, to that point, we're not quite with that yet. We have all the
Okay.
requirements met, finalized. It's all the drop downs, making it smooth so the appraiser understands what we're doing and the system's stopping where we want it to stop. So Ed and Camille and I did some practices yesterday. I believe by end of the week, we should be able to have you go through the process for us. Yeah. So I'm hoping by Friday, he'll say, we did everything we can. Let's get one to go through.
Okay. Very nice.
We'll see.
I love pilots. That's great. So Chad, did you have anything else to add on that report?
Honestly, unless you guys have questions for me related to either the grant funded enforcement program or our portal, no, I've
Yeah,
pretty much
I'm so
concluded.
excited to see Oregon come into the new millennium, and hopefully there will be some, with the initial outlay, hopefully there'll be some cost savings in some way or another,
I think there will.
and less frustration. You know, those PDF forms, especially that payment form? Yeah,
Mhm.
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I know how to fix that, by the way. But so that's super exciting. It's thanks for all of your work on that, and we'll test whenever you're ready. So, okay, well then I guess what we're going to do is move on to general discussion. We could talk for hours about the second exposure draft of the proposed changes to the criteria. I don't know that we want to spend hours talking about that right now, but I want to make sure everybody is aware of it. The comment period is still open. It's open until the 27th. There's also Arrow is hosting a discussion with, I believe, with the AQB. I don't know who else we'd have the discussion with. On Thursday, this 27th, and that's this Thursday, Chad had put out a registration link for that, and I'm going to go ahead and sit in on it. Chad, I'm assuming you are too.
Yep.
Is there anybody else that has time or the opportunity to participate in the?
Dan was raising his hand.
Dan, are you also going to participate?
I can at least sit and watch. Yeah, I plan to.
Yeah, it's an interesting format, as I understand. Maybe Barry knows more than I do. The way that it looks like they're doing it is they're breaking folks out into smaller groups at the first half of the session, and then the second half of the session will be a larger discussion.
What is the date on that again?
It's on Thursday, huh?
That's the 23rd. Okay.
I had heard.
Yes, I'm sorry.
23rd.
No, you're right. The 27th is the cutoff for the comment period. Chad, did you want to get together and provide any comments to the AQB on this exposure draft, or I've got a whole. Okay, I've got a 4-page document already prepared if you want to go through some of the items. But so sure. I think in general, I think a lot of the proposals are really, really positive. It's going to create some work for Chad, with rule changes and whatnot. But I think most of the proposals are pretty reasonable. One thing I would encourage all of you to do is to take a look at the demonstration appraisal report pathway proposal and provide comments on that one way or the other. I know that document is very long. What was it, 159 pages or something like that?
Just for anybody who has not yet read through that, a small word of advice, because there isn't a red line. But I think it's like 134 or something. If you skip ahead toward the end, there are big gray boxes that outline the policy change and the intent of the policy change, and have some discussion below. So you don't have to read through the entire document looking for changes. Skip to the end, and then you can read back into policy where you have a topic that you have questions about. That's not a official advice of how to read the thing, but
no, but there's no way they could have redlined that. It's an overhaul of the criteria. So there's no way they could have said, well, we're gonna change this word or change that word. It's complete rewrite. So I understand why that is. And I can go over briefly, or Chad, do you want me to just put out a What if I just took the bullet points here and,
Barry might have some sort of a silver bullet. He's got his hand up.
oh, does he? Okay. Go ahead, Barry. Barry, you're on mute. Could you take yourself off mute?
Sorry about that. Actually, this is the first I've heard of this online meeting with the AQB and Arrow, but I just wanted to stress the importance of your comments to the exposure draft. I was on the ASB for 8 years. And whatever we sent out in exposure drafts, especially the first 1 or 2, we got a bunch of comments back. It's those comments that really do drive the final product. We've had people come in on the day that we were hoping to adopt and bring up an issue and say, ooh, based on what we just heard at the last minute, we can't adopt it that way. So comments are taken very seriously. Every member of the AQB is going to read every comment that comes in. So get your thoughts and feelings out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I do encourage everybody to provide those comments, particularly on the, and do you agree with me on the demonstration appraisal report pathway? I think professionals really need to chime in on that one way or the other. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and table that unless anybody, or conclude the general discussion on that unless anybody else has something else they want to say about the proposed criteria. Okay, hearing none. Chad, the improving appraiser engagement item is on the agenda. Did you have something specific you wanted to add there?
You're muted.
Yep. There we go. So I don't actually have anything specific in mind, but based on the tone of our last meeting and kind of how that evolved from some of my updates, and I think it was, I'm not sure how the context came up, but it wasn't an agenda item on the last meeting. And based on AG's feedback, I thought maybe if we wanted to continue that discussion, if anybody remembers kind of where we were.
I think that
I think the general sentiment related to our rulemaking process, and I think it was because, and a case in point again, we had no written comments. This was a bit more housekeeping, but the last rule change that it related to were fees. And if there's something that appraisers are sensitive to, I would imagine it's regulatory fees. And we still had very little, if any, comment or interaction. So I wanted to add that onto the agenda just to see if there was any brainstorming that we wanted to do in terms of reaching out and engaging appraisers. Right now, Dan and I are also doing speaking engagements out in the general public, but most of it is, again, well, it is with appraisal organizations. Dan went and spoke with the members of ASA and NAFA here earlier this year. And we are scheduled to speak with the Portland chapter of Appraisal Institute members here in September of this year. But beyond that, I was looking for any input you folks might have or ideas on how do we draw more appraisers in to be interested either in these meetings or in their own fate and the rules that drive the profession, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and even if we don't have any ideas right now, I think that should be a standing agenda item going forward, if that's okay with everybody. So, because as those ideas arise, just like Aaron, had an idea about something that, with practicum, and Kathy as well. But yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating. I think I probably was the one that brought it up at our last meeting, and that's why we're now still talking about it, right? It's frustrating, when Steph sends out the emails to everybody, the interested parties, and here we have no other appraisers other than our board, right? Sitting here in this meeting, it's a frustrating scenario, right? So.
Because everybody that I used to recognize as sitting in the back of the meeting rooms when we had these meetings is now on the screen.
Exactly.
Yeah, we get involved, but yeah, it's frustrating. I don't know.
One thought could be, well, and we've done this a lot of times in the past, dedicating a board meeting, well, not an entire board meeting, but at the end of a board meeting, instead of a general discussion, there could be a potential, like a little learning opportunity. And as long as we're giving credit for, as long as the meeting itself is 2 hours, we can give continuing education credit for that meeting, especially if the meeting contains information germane to appraisal practice in Oregon, which I think pretty much this entire agenda does, but as well as an open discussion possibly with appraisers at the end of the meeting. I think if we were to start offering CE credit, that would, I don't think overnight we would fill the room, but I think that any, I personally, I'm always looking for free continuing ed.
I like that idea a
I
lot.
think that's a great idea. Chad, do we have the capability of offering education virtually, or would they have to be here live?
Nope, we have the same process to approve. So it's synchronous or asynchronous education. Synchronous would be us right now. This is in real time, live. We can see each other, right? That is synchronous education in terms of it's delivered in real time, live to active participants. Asynchronous education is a little more difficult, and that's what, like, most of the education providers, that would be the self-paced classwork, right? Where you log into a system, go through the modules and take their quizzes, and then at the end of it,
Which I don't think
finish the
we're
course.
getting
Yeah.
into that.
That would be more difficult, but the live sync, a board meeting that we hope we could hold it hybrid, just like we are now, live and in person as well.
Would we have to actually have people monitoring attendance and whatnot? Do we have to show ID? How,
Yep.
So Steph, can you do all of that?
We can work the logistics out, but yes, all of those things are possible. And essentially for that synchronous education, we would treat it just like any other webinar that we would approve for CE. And most education providers on the front end, and I think halfway through the process, usually have like an attendance check-in thing where it's, I don't know if they do it privately, if they've got software that does that, or if they require that people identify. And I think for our purposes, I mean, we can work out the logistics, but an email ahead of time with a license number and a name, and then identify that, taking an attendance, verbal attendance like we do for board members, we can work through some of that. I'm not sure that that's the exact answer, but in short, yes, we can hold a board meeting virtually and in person. Everybody can attend however they want to. And as long as we have a 2-hour meeting, that can be approved for 2 hours of continuing ed.
Go ahead.
Can I get 2 hours of continuing ed or just the public?
I think you're an active licensee.
I like this
I think if you submitted for continuing ed as an active licensee and you attended the meeting, I think, we also do.
I feel like that's a great idea to draw people in to the work that we're doing, because you're right that, free CEs are a good prize.
Right. I mean, technically, we could be offering 8 hours or more, every single year.
Have Chad tell a story.
Oh boy, you don't want me to talk for 8 hours, guys. No.
4 times in 2-hour increments.
But
I
to
would
that
be
point,
happy.
we
I would
could
be-
do any of the above. Go ahead.
I
Oh,
would be-
Kathy,
I was gonna
yes.
say, I would be happy to offer my time with the couple of classes that I have written. I could scale those down to a 1-hour, overview of manufactured housing, 1 hour of cost approach, just a scaled back. I'd be happy to offer my time on those things.
I think that, the only challenge that I see about is we never know how long a board meeting is going to take. So, so it's now 10:19, and I think on my watch, we've never actually had a 2-hour meeting. I don't know. So let's talk about it, guys. Let's get together and make it happen.
In terms of looking at timing of board meetings and length, we're right now at 1:20.
Right.
Another hour of material it could be an open town hall discussion.
Right.
With an instructor
Not to belabor this point, but from a procedural question here, we go through cases that were investigated, whether or not, you know, any wrongdoing was, or any opportunity for corrective action was found. There are learning opportunities associated with every single one of these board meetings. We can't, you know, we certainly don't want to talk about names or addresses or things, but can we talk thematically about the contents of those before we vote on them? Here's the thing that was brought up. Here was the concern. You know, that this is what, you know, this is what was highlighted by somebody, and, you know, a member of the public or a client as potentially problematic. So you appraisers out there, be aware that stuff like this. And Chad, you had brought up earlier, you know, in this meeting that there was some little flurry of new activity. And I can't help but wonder, is there, you know, do we know enough about those yet to know whether there's a theme as to why? I mean, do they all relate to a similar topic? And if so, wouldn't our members benefit from knowing that that's a thing that's, you know, whatever that is, right? Whatever the thing is, benefit from knowing that that's causing any amount of stir.
Right. Yeah. This may not necessarily be USPAP, but this is a trend and et cetera. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Every single one of those is and I would, again, keep it general to protect privacy, but these are public records. Any orders you approve are public record. The board's compliance reports are public record. The investigation file, as long as it personally identifiable information or financial info or, you know, things that wouldn't be available.
Used to be published in a newsletter, so I don't.
Right. The actions and things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember
and with
that
the names
letter.
and the license numbers and exactly, all the gory details.
So that board process has evolved over the years. It very easily could evolve again to include discussion of when you identify the case for board approval. It could include a summary of the allegations, right? It could include the board's action specifically, and we could give more information without crossing too many lines, right? There's a balance there that could be had. Considering
the fact that, you know, with the exception of Barry, who's so kindly sat through an hour and a half of us talking, there are no other members of the, you know, of our professional community attending this meeting. We've all read all of that stuff. So we don't need to make that part of our meeting unless unless we're offering CE, in my opinion. We don't need to make these meetings longer just so that we're on the record having a discussion that we don't necessarily need to have. So, but yeah, I think that's great. And maybe, Chad, not even so much. I think that we would need to be very cautious about saying we decided on education for this one, but we dismissed this one with counsel for these reasons. I think we don't want to get into that. I think we just want to talk about the
circumstances that led to the filing. Okay.
Or to the findings. I mean, even in the ones that Dan recommends dismissal on, oftentimes there's still stuff in there that, you know, it's not like the appraisal was perfect. It just means that it didn't rise to the level of disciplinary action. So,
and to that point, Lori, I don't think I've ever seen a perfect appraisal that's been 100% USPAP compliant, including those that I've written.
Yeah. Right. Well, I wrote one or two, but you know.
You call it the cautionary tale, right?
Exactly.
Cautionary tale.
The cautionary tale is don't go back and read any appraisal report you've ever written because you'll be horrified by what you see.
Especially if 5 years has passed.
Exactly. Right. Oh, man. So, well, do we have any more discussion about engagement? That was a really good discussion, Chad. That needs to stay on our agenda. That was awesome. Well, if we don't have anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
He's done.
Do I have a second and a third and a fourth on that?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a second and Ed thirds. So, Steph, do you want to take
Yeah. Lori,
Yes.
Annie,
Yeah, yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and Aaron.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes and this meeting is now adjourned. Steph, do you want to stop the recording?
Barry, do we see you in future meetings?